What do you think is the most terrifying force in Genshin Impact? Is it the all-consuming, corrupting power of the Abyss, or the cold, silent, tyrannical gods watching us from Celestia? When we look at the greatest villains, we expect titans. We look at the Five Sinners of Khaenri'ah, and we see this pantheon of legends. We see Rhine-daughter, the alchemist Gold who could create life itself. We see Sertologi, a sage who had become a key figure in the Abyss. And then there's Rerir, the man who wasn't a grand sage, the man who had no ambitions for godhood, the man whose entire life's dream was just to live a quiet, cozy life with a wife and kids. So how? How does a simple, ordinary, cowardly man end up in the same ranks as these titans? How does he become one of the greatest sinners in Teyvat's history? The answer is one of the most chilling and sophisticated concepts that HoYoverse has ever written into their lore. And it's an answer that Dainsleif, with his heroic, principled mindset, could never comprehend. The Abyss doesn't just select its targets based on their strengths. It preys on extremes. The other four sinners were extremely formidable. Rerir was just as extreme, but in the opposite direction. He was extremely, profoundly, and absolutely cowardly. This is the banality of evil. It's a concept from the philosopher Hannah Arendt, who argued that some of the greatest evils in history weren't committed by fanatics or monsters, but by ordinary, unthinking people who were simply following orders. People who were just, as they saw it, doing their job. Rerir is the textbook, walking and talking personification of this idea. He is not a mustache-twirling villain. He is a genocidal paper pusher. Think about that flashback where we see him at his desk, processing documents. That single scene is a masterclass in character writing. On one hand, you can see him wrestling with his conscience. He knows what he's doing is wrong. The orders to purge the impure descendants of the Red Moon are monstrous. But on the other hand, he desperately, frantically convinces himself that he is doing the right thing, that he's just a cog in the machine, that he's working hard, being diligent, and confronting every problem head-on. As long as he focuses on the process, as long as he buries his head in the sand of his bureaucratic duties, he doesn't have to look up and see the blood on his hands. He's not a monster, he's just an efficient employee. This is his coping mechanism. But this house of cards comes crashing down in the most brutal way imaginable. This evil, genocidal system that he so diligently serves turns its cold, unfeeling gaze on the one person he loves. His girlfriend is placed on the execution list. This is the moment. This is the ultimate test, the call to action that separates a hero from a coward. So what does Rerir do? Let's use a control group. Let's look at Dainsleif. When Dainsleif's brother advised the Eclipse King against his catastrophic path, the king responded by having his eyes gouged out. Dainsleif's reaction was immediate and absolute. He saw the king for what he was, a tyrant, and he rebelled. An ordinary, non-heroic person in Rerir's situation would at least have done the obvious, which is run, grab their girlfriend, and flee Khaenri'ah. The lore even implies that at that time, it was still possible to escape. So what did Rerir, our moon hunter, do? He planned to ask for a pardon. Let that sink in. His response to his girlfriend being targeted for genocide was not to fight the system, not to flee the system, but to appeal to the system. He genuinely believed he could go to the genocidal Eclipse King and say, "Your Majesty, I've been such a good, loyal assassin, such a diligent paper pusher. Could you please make my girlfriend an honorable Eclipse citizen and an exception?" He was not trying to save his girlfriend from evil. He was trying to save his cozy life from being inconvenienced by that evil. The contrast between him and everyone else in this story is so stark, it's blinding. Look at Tholendis herself. At first, she also tries to evade, to sever her ties with her Red Moon ancestry. But when she realizes the king intends to eradicate them, root and branch, she finds her courage. She takes action. She actively obtains a fragment of the iridescent moon and entrusts it to her kin, ensuring her bloodline will endure. She acts for a cause greater than herself. And then there's Nefer, the key to this entire puzzle. For ages, players have debated that long, seemingly out-of-place flashback to Nefer's past in the World Quest. People said it ruined the pacing of the Archon quest. But it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't bad writing. It was a deliberate foil. HoYoverse put her story there specifically to be a mirror to Rerir. Think about it. Both are snakes, dealing in secrets. Both are orphans who grew up in adverse conditions. But what does Nefer do? She acts. At every single turn, she takes proactive steps to change her life. She leaves the academia. She seeks revenge. She reconciles with her father. She travels to nod-krai. Regardless of whether her steps were right or wrong, Nefer faced her reality with integrity. Rerir, despite possessing immense power, stagnates. He is passive. He is constrained. He lets the system define him. Nefer's story exists to scream at the player, do not pity Rerir for his circumstances. Look at this woman who had nothing and see what agency truly looks like. As Nefer herself so brilliantly says, a monster with sympathetic circumstances is still a monster. So, case closed, right? Rerir is just a spineless, selfish coward who is irredeemably evil. Well, this is where the story gets complicated, because there is a whole other side to this. A side that argues that reducing Rerir to just a coward is a massive misreading of his character. The problem is that Rerir wasn't just an ordinary man. He was an orphan taken in by the state. He was groomed from childhood for one purpose: to be an assassin, to be a blade of the Eclipse King. He was a nobody who was told he was a nobody. He was emotionally detached, raised to believe that emotions were a weakness, that his heart was just a stagnant pool. He was treated like a weapon, and so he thought of himself as one. He never learned to express emotions, never considered himself a person who deserved them. His entire life was a bubble of state-controlled propaganda. Everyone around him, the king, his superiors, his colleagues, pushed him to believe that what he was doing was right, that he was protecting the Eclipse dynasty, that he was bringing justice to his nation. He had no agency. He had no free will. He had a low status, not like the other high-ranking sinners or Dainslif. He was, by design, a disposable tool under the complete control of King Eärman. And King Eärman was a madman. This is the king who, in a fit of paranoia, imprisoned one of his most trusted advisors, Vedverfolnir, for simply reporting a prophecy. Think about that. If Vedverfolnir, one of the few people who actually had the king's ear, could be jailed for simply speaking, what power did Rerir have? An orphan assassin with zero political standing? He had less than zero. If he had spoken up, he would have been executed on the spot, and his colleagues would have carried out the order anyway. His life was doomed from the start. He was trapped. From this perspective, his plan to seek a pardon isn't just cowardly, it's tragic. It's the desperate, delusional, last-ditch hope of a man so indoctrinated, so broken by the system that he can't even imagine a reality outside of it. His brain is so trapped in the propaganda that he genuinely believes the system might reward his loyalty. It's the only tool he was ever given. Tholendis was the one who changed him, who made him see himself as a person. But that change came too late. By the time he started to feel guilt over his orders, he was already in too deep. So what is it? Is Rerir a selfish, spineless monster who embodies the banality of evil? Or is he a tragic, indoctrinated victim, a product of a lifetime of grooming and manipulation? The true, brilliant answer is that he is both. He is not black and white. He is a perfectly written, horribly tragic great character. He is a coward. His inaction is despicable. His attempt to get a pardon while his girlfriend's people are being slaughtered is one of the most selfish acts in the game. But he is also a victim. He is a product of a system designed to create people exactly like him. A system that finds orphans, breaks them down, and builds them back up as unthinking, unfeeling weapons, all while feeding them a steady diet of patriotic lies. This is the true terror of the banality of evil. It's not just that Rerir chose to be a cog. It's that he was forged to be a cog, to the point that he could no longer remember how to be a person. Rerir is a mirror. He is a terrifying, unflinching look at the fact that most of the world's great evils are not committed by grand, super-powered villains, but by ordinary, weak-willed people trapped in evil systems who are just trying to protect their own small, cozy lives. And that is far more real and far more terrifying than any abyss monster or power-hungry god we will ever face. But what do you think? Is Rerir ultimately a tragic victim or an irredeemable monster? Can he be both? Let me know your full thoughts on this incredibly complex character down in the comments. And if you enjoy this kind of deep dive into the lore, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.